Everyone knows the adage, buy low, sell high. But who are the guys you should be selling high on? You're going to find out next. Hello, and welcome to another episode on the channel. This is Chris, MLS Card Guy. Today we're going over the most overpriced guys in MLS right now. So these are guys, if I had on my team, I would be trying to sell. I would be waiting until the start of the season because I do think there's no new information coming. I think everybody's price is going to rise over the next few months. But come the new season, I think these guys will be overpriced and will start to die faster than others. So some of them are just young players that people are just way too high on. Some of them had ridiculous 2021 seasons, and I don't think they can possibly match that production. But we are going to get into it and go over all of them one by one. So without any ado, here we go. First one, Gabriel Slonina. Gaga, as he's known. This is not a knock on the player. This is not to say he's not a good goalkeeper. He's an excellent goalkeeper. He's 17 years old, so you are getting a lot for your money. But at this point, you're just having to pay a lot of money in order to get him. 0.507 is the 2-week average sale price. Best offer right now is ridiculously over 1p. And he's not the starter in Chicago. I mean, he could be. I think he's going to have a fight on his hands because they're going to have a new coach who's going to come in. Are they going to want to wait on a 17-year-old goalkeeper to mature and develop? Possibly. But I do think that Ezra Hendrickson is going to bring in some competition for Gaga Slonina, and I don't think the job is just going to be his off the bat. So you are paying an absolutely ridiculous premium price for a guy that's not even guaranteed to start next season. Now, long term, is this player, a good player? Is he a good prospect? Absolutely. I don't have any problems with the talent. If you told me 5 years from now I could have him, then great. But as of right now, paying a half an ETH for him when all the other goalkeepers are 0.2 just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'd rather have two guaranteed nail-down starting goalkeepers rather than just Gaga Slonina. If you really, really want a U23 goalkeeper, go and get David Ochoa. He's guaranteed to start, and I think he's only like 0.4, so he's even cheaper than Gaga Slonina. So again, not a knock on the player at all, but just a ridiculous price for Gaga. And again, I think this price probably does still continue to rise into the preseason. But I would be, if I had a Gaga Slonina, if I was lucky enough to have gotten him before he started playing all these games, I would be selling come preseason. So we're going to move on to the next one. I did a goalkeeper, defender, two midfielders, and a forward, just like I would do on my normal team. So the next one is Yeimar from Seattle. Now again, not a knock on the talent here. Had a wonderful season, but if we look at the SoFi scores, this looks really great, right? But then tailed off toward the end of last season. This is kind of what he normally does if we go back 2 years. There's a lot more of these than there were up in this first part here. So I think this is more average. I mean, again, he's probably a 55 or so average defender, which is by no means laughingstock or not useful. But when you're talking about being 0.15 ETH, talking about best offer at a quarter of an ETH, it's just too much for me. The only other defender that's priced anywhere near that high is Walker Zimmerman from Nashville, and I would much, much rather have Walker Zimmerman. I think you can find a lot of other players who are similar, 55 average type guys for less than this 0.15. So Yeimar, I think, is my most overrated defender. Overrated midfielder, Carlos Heel. Now again, not a knock on the player himself. This price is crazy for a midfielder. You guys are insane if you're paying this price to have this player. Now I get it. 71 over the last 40 is a ridiculous output. Is he going to put that up again next season? I would bet not. I don't think New England is going to be nearly as dangerous next season. Tejan Buchanan opens up a lot of stuff. He's going to be gone. Adam Buxa is apparently going to be gone at some point as well this offseason. If it's just Heel and Bow, I don't think New England is nearly as dangerous. as they were this season. And this price for a midfielder, guys, is just stupid. Just stupid. Now, I would not sell him right now. I would wait until the preseason in order to sell him. But I would be 100% getting rid of him because there's absolutely no way that he goes any higher than 0.6. He's only going to come down next season, guys. Even if he has a ridiculous season, right? Even if he does this over the whole season, that still doesn't justify this price. It just doesn't. So again, he's the MVP of the league. Will he be the MVP next year? I kind of doubt it. People don't really put together 2 years in a row like that. He reminds me so much of Carlos Vela in 2019, and I just don't think it's going to be repeated. And you basically do need it to be repeated at this price. So I mean, Carlos Gil is far and away from me the most overpriced player in the MLS. Now, should he be more expensive than most people? Absolutely. He's probably one of the best players in the MLS. Even if they lose Buxa and Buchanan, he's still probably a top 5 midfielder, but this price is crazy. You can get other top 5 midfielders for a quarter of this. Some of them maybe even less. So I would be selling Carlos Gil if it were me. The other midfielder is a younger guy, so Paxton Aronson. I think a lot of people are buying the name here. Obviously, his brother is going to Salzburg. He's doing really well. Paxton, he's a decent prospect for the future. Again, not a knock on the player, just like Gaga Slonina. He may turn into a very good pro at some point, but these scores just don't justify this price anywhere near this price. He's not playing. He's not an everyday starter for Jim Curtin in Philadelphia. Might he be next year? Potentially. But there's a lot of other young players in Philadelphia as well. And you're talking about an elite star player price right now. It's just not worth it for me to pay this much for Paxton Aronson. So I would be selling him going into next season. And then the last one, obviously, we got to keep our New England hate rolling here, right? Gustavo Bo. So I have lots of concerns with Gustavo Bo. Again, not a knock on the player. He's a good player, although every time I watch him, he's horrible. Gives the ball away constantly. So I don't know how he puts up these numbers, but he definitely does put up numbers. Again, you're paying elite caliber prices. As far as a forward go, he's not the most expensive forward. I did have to go down the list a little bit to get to Gustavo Bo. But when you consider the age, he's going to be 32 next year. When you consider the price, when you consider Buxa and Buchanan are leaving, and really teams are just going to be focused on Bo and Heel, there's not enough weapons in New England. Could they reload? Possibly. But as it stands right now, Bo for me is not. I don't want him on my team. So yeah, those are a couple of guys that I just feel are way overpriced right now. And you could even consider selling some of them and going and reinvesting right now and hoping that those players grow up. But I can tell you a ton of people ask me about Gustavo Bo. A ton of people ask me about Yamar. A ton of people ask me about Carlos Gil. So there is demand for them. They're going to be bought into next season. I just can't see any of these guys reproducing their seasons that they had this past year. I do think they're good players again, but for me, just the value's just not there. I'd much rather have guys that have the same caliber talent and cost half the price and maybe have a risk or two more, because those guys have somewhere up to go, right? Those guys, they can grow in price, whereas right now, this price is an elite midfielder price, our forward price. You're paying for him to put up 61 every single week, and this is kind of his ceiling. This is his max. So you're paying a price for his maximum. I just can't see, your best case scenario is you break even here. You're not ever going to make any real profit off of a guy like Gustavo Bo, and I have a ton of concern, like I said, with the age, with everything else. I don't think New England is going to be nearly as dominant as they were this year. So there's a little bit of New England hate for you, just so that we can throw it out there and hopefully the soccer gods will hear us and make New England not as good next year, because all of us in the East need them to not be as good. Hopefully Toronto doesn't go off and get crazy too. But that's going to be it for the video today. A little bit of a shorter one today. Just wanted to keep this nice and short and sweet. Hope you guys are following the Twitter. We got a ton of great stuff going on over there. But until the next time, Vamos United.